The college football experience 12-team playoff reaction show and coaching hires episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a brand new sports book available in 45 different states. So what are you doing? Download the Rebet app in the App Store there or Google Play Store and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college basketball and college football with Rhythm. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
This is Dan Hawkins. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes! 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 Woo! Welcome to the college football experience 12-team playoff reaction show and coaching hires as the coaching carousel continues to heat up. This episode is really just here. YouTube.com/the college experience. The race to 15K, I believe it was.
Woo!
I can't even remember. Get on over there. All right. Just know if we do not make 15K by January 1st, we'll be showing all 4 human centipedes on repeat for the next 3 months. Get on over there. Hit that like and subscribe button. I see the numbers. Shout out to the chat. Evan, the reporter, doing the Lord's work.
Still breaking that news that hasn't happened yet. I think
news.
he came on last week, right?
Yeah, he's hoping and praying that Rich Rod takes the dub beat job. Shout out to our
Speak
guy
it
Blanton.
into existence.
Shout out to our guy Blanton Stamey. It was at the SEC Championship Saturday, so it was an unbelievable game, and all the other ones on Saturday delivered. And shout out to Virgil interrupting the Simpsons football game. OJ, what are we talking? Oh, Bart. Lisa?
Homer?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Is that show still going on?
I think so.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, why end it? I've been to the real bar. Like Mo, the bartender in The Simpsons, is it's based on a real person at a bar there in Playa del Rey, California.
No, it's not Austin. I thought there's a bar. I thought there's a Simpsons bar in Austin, Texas.
There probably is. But the character Mo is based off. So the creator of that show went to Loyola Marymount. Him and Kelly LePepe share something, and they like the watering hole was right up the road, and they have a guy that's he hasn't changed. He drives this old red Cadillac, or I don't even know if it's a Cadillac, something similar to a Cadillac from like the 70s. What's it? What was another one that was like a ripoff of the Cadillac?
Oh,
Cutlass Supreme. It might have been that. It might have been that. He still goes there. It looks like he might have used to deal 8 balls of coke, if I had to guess. Okay. But Mo's gotten a little old. All right,
haven't we all?
Shout out to Weehawk Kerwin Bell, still in Cullowhee. He's happy there. YouTube.com/the college experience. We're going to talk all about it. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Ton D. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Oh, yeah. 12 teams, magical playoff, and an unbelievable amount of bitching from a conference that should never bitch. I am joined by my co-host. He is the DFS god himself. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, not bro making. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on? You know what? I think the committee got it right as far as the teams. The seeding, maybe not so, but the teams, they actually got it right. So you won't find too much bitching on this podcast. I don't think, at least. We'll see.
Well, you could have put BYU in the same record as SMU, and they have a head-to-head win.
Was there more bitching last year over Florida State not making it, or this year over Alabama?
I actually think that's what's hilarious. I think it's this year, and last year was the most ridiculous one of all time. And I hate Florida State, but
kind of funny that Alabama is in the mix again. Last year, I mean, basically this is what it comes down to. Like last year, if you're living on the edge and you got the benefit of the doubt, why do you think or expect you're going to get the benefit of the doubt again if you're right on that edge again? So, I mean, very easily they could have been left out last year.
Last year, they didn't lose to any 6-6 teams.
And this year, 2 of them. I mean, we can get it. We can just dive right into that from the get-go. I think
my favorite is this athletic director saying we're gonna have to we're gonna take a long look at our non-con.
Yeah, is that a threat? Are we supposed to be like threatened by that or something? Like, first,
your non-con's never been impressive,
right? Your non-con was shit. Now, granted, to be fair, not all their fault. It's not their fault. Wisconsin was a shitty team this year. To go to play at Wisconsin is challenging yourself. But
okay, I'll agree there. But they also went 15 years without doing a home and home.
Yeah, but also, I mean, look at the SEC teams that did make it. Georgia played Clemson. Tennessee played NC State.
And Georgia played Georgia Tech too.
Yeah, and Texas played Michigan. So, I mean, the reason why you didn't make it wasn't because of your non-con being too difficult. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The reason why you didn't make it was that you're a 3-loss team. And in the current 12-team playoff, whenever you're a 3-loss team, you have to be very nervous because you might not make it. Now, some years, if this 12-team format stays for a while, which hopefully it won't, hopefully it'll expand. But if it does, maybe some years a 3-loss team can make it. But you're really living on the edge if you have 3 losses, and especially if 2 of those losses. Well, okay,
I got
at large.
Yeah.
So, and especially when 2 of your losses are bad losses. So I'm sorry, I can't. Alabama, I don't feel sorry for you. You have 2 bad losses. You can't bitch.
That's my favorite thing. Is they're like, oh yeah, maybe we'll schedule a lighter non-con. You didn't lose in the non-con. You played no one.
It made no sense at all. Right.
Oklahoma's in your conference, you fucking losers. I don't understand the argument. Yeah. Anyway, it's hilarious to see them all complaining. If you lose 2 weeks ago to a 6-6 team, which really Oklahoma's wins are pretty pathetic this year when you think about them. Their only win in the back half of the season is Maine and Alabama. Maine's an FCS team, folks. I think they got it right. I guess you can. I think what's crazy is the Alabama argument. I actually think is the worst of the arguments. I think South Carolina, you could argue. I think Army, you could argue. I think BYU, you could argue way before Alabama, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, so anybody that's on the bubble is going to have their own argument, and they're going to twist their argument to serve their purpose and only bring up things that, those teams were good at rather than the things that they were bad at. But if I'm Alabama, the team that has my ire is not SMU, it's Indiana. Because SMU's resume was better than Indiana's. And if we're saying that you don't get penalized by losing in a conference championship game, especially in a close game, which thankfully SMU came back in the second half and made it a ball game, compare SMU and Indiana. Indiana, they have 3 wins over teams that are 500 and above. Their best win is over 7-5 Michigan. And then they have a win over 6-6 Nebraska, a win over 6-6 Washington, and all the rest of their wins are below 500 teams. Compare that resume to SMU, which brings me up to my biggest problem with the seeding here is why did SMU fall behind Indiana? That is bullshit.
I think there's good questions to ask on all of it, and I think I mean, what about Texas? Texas's best win is a 7-5 Michigan team, right?
Well, they share that. They share that in common with Indiana.
That's what I'm saying. How many winning teams? I think they have one win against a team with a winning record, and that's Michigan, right? Or A&M, Michigan and A&M. They have 2 wins against teams with a winning record.
A&M finished 8-4, I think, right?
Yeah, that sounds accurate. I believe so. Yeah, 8-4. But they also have 0 top 25 wins, and they're winless against the top 25. So, but there's several angles. I mean, let me throw it up. YouTube.com/the college experience. Here's the actual bracket.
By the way, that's glorious. How many years were we hoping for something like that? And
yeah,
even though we can still complain, but that's awesome right there. Now, like I said before, hopefully we see an even bigger bracket in a few years. But that right there is, a glorious sight to see.
Yeah, and I guess if we're gonna, I think they got the right teams in. I understand the BYU argument. I understand the Army argument. I understand the South Carolina argument, and I think all those are more valid than Alabama and Ole Miss. But I do think you can question a lot. Like, why is Penn State ahead of Ohio State? Right? I mean, they have the same, like they won head-to-head at their house. Why is
the only reason why they made it to the Big Ten championship game is because of unbalanced schedules. They didn't happen to play in Eugene in the regular season. So that's very, very legitimate. Sure.
I think you can. I think there's a number of things you can say here. I don't understand Texas at the 5 seed. I just don't get it. Like, what have they seen that makes them like? What's the convincing win that says, you know what, they can lose twice? They've never been out of the top 5 all year.
Yeah,
and it confuses me. It's like it would be different if they were winning 57-0 every week. You know,
so
what I mean?
not only do they get the 5 seed, but they have the easiest path.
I think a lot of people are saying it's Penn State.
Oh, those were the 2 easiest.
Because you're getting 2 group of 5s as of a year ago.
No, actually, you're right. Because the bottom half is easier than the top half. Because the top half has Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas, which is 3 of the top 4 teams with the best odds to win the national championship. So you're right. Penn State does have the easiest path. Maybe Texas second because of how they should win the first 2 games.
Well, this is accurate though. Like, whereas Oregon gets the 1 seed, they win the Big Ten championship, and they have the hardest road to the like. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're looking at this, I also don't know how you put Boise above Arizona State, but I mean,
right.
Like, to me, the 5 and 6 seeds, the best 2 seeds to get.
Yeah, so this has the most fatal flaw of the 12-team playoff is the buys right now. So the easy solution, which hopefully somebody pays attention, is just go to 16.
Yeah,
no buys. Then you have 8 first-round games all at home. That'd be fantastic. I know we'd love the second-round games.
I think the second round is gonna happen because I think the revenue that comes in after the first one, and I also think with the way conference championships ticket sales has been so shitty.
Yeah.
I think they're either going to be forced to do the conference championships as home games, because you're asking a lot of your fan bases if you're saying, hey, come to Arlington, Texas, and then does anyone have the money to go 4 straight weeks on the road? You know what I mean? Like, you have to start going. You have to start going to home games here. I just feel like it's a necessity.
That's
I also
a good
think
point.
It looks better on TV.
Of course, I was just seeing those tickets for the Notre Dame games at home. I don't know how affordable that is. I guess at least if you're in the area, you don't have to travel. But the ticket alone is ridiculous.
Dude, there was like 500 people at the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, a lot of them were. But I mean, these championship games are kind of so ridiculous to begin with, especially now with the larger conferences. It's not an accurate representation of the 2 best teams. It is most of the time it's a good team with the best schedule, maybe playing against the best team or something. So those games are really pointless now, but they do make a lot of money on, with the TV contracts, because the ratings, I'm sure, I haven't seen them, but I'm sure they were really high
I just can't
week.
help but think you watch that basically a playoff game in Boise. UNLV at Boise on Friday.
Yeah.
And then you watch those ones on Saturday and you're like, no,
Yep.
boys, they got it right on Friday. Like, that's
Right.
the blueprint to go moving forward. They take the goalpost, they throw that shit in the river. You're selling what is college football. And I hope it's something they pay attention to. I think they will, because when you pay Jerry's World that much money to play there, and then you only, I mean, I don't know the final numbers, but I would assume that shit looked pretty damn empty. All right.
Yeah, I mean, the ticket sales are one thing, and really the TV money is the big driving force.
But you can do that. Why if you're Yormark, why not just do it to the team with the best record on tiebreaker?
Well, then also, I mean, shouldn't you give the teams that are ranked the highest the biggest advantage? And that advantage, if they earn that advantage throughout the whole course of a regular season, then they earn home games, which gives them that much better of a chance to win. So it's only fair also. So yeah,
it's a great point when you look at Oregon. Okay, so Tennessee and Ohio State had a bye week last week. So Oregon goes and beats Penn State. They were already in, but they beat Penn State to solidify the hardest seeding in the, in the playoff.
Yeah.
Then they get their bye week this week. So it's basically like them and, I mean, what's the difference? Tennessee had a bye week last week. Ohio State had a bye week last week. Okay, they got to play each other, but they got a week to like, is it that drastic? I don't think it is. And then they don't get to play in Autzen. They don't get that money that Ohio State will get. All those bars, all those restaurants, all the, I don't see how they win here.
I mean, it's definitely millions of dollars into that local economy. Now, maybe the university doesn't care about that. Or maybe the conference doesn't really care about that. I think they should. I mean, because they are part of the local community, Yeah, especially someplace, maybe someplace that doesn't have, or that could really use that extra money, like maybe Boise or Columbus. I mean, Columbus is doing fine as a city, but most of that part of Ohio isn't doing that fine. So, I mean, that brings in a lot of money. I mean, that's a big thing for your economy. So it just makes so much sense to expand this so quickly from 12 to 16. But I will say the funny thing is that if this was a 16-team playoff, we'd be bitching a lot more. Especially you would, Colby, because the additional
they wouldn't
4
put
teams,
Army in. I'd be bitching.
Well, the additional 4 teams would be Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. So all the Big 12 heads part of this network would definitely be bitching, legitimate bitch too.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is,
and Army, like if you go 11-1 and your one loss is to a team in the field ranked number 7,
right?
Which was at a neutral site, which was basically kind of a home game for Notre Dame,
right?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I'm going to be bitching anyway because 16 is not enough. You have to do more than that to get rid of the corruption. The corruption is always going to be there.
Shout out to, I forget who it was. I think was it Landon on Twitter who says that he loves us, but all we do is bitch and complain.
Somebody tagged us in that. Somebody
I forget who.
I don't think it was Landon though. I think it was somebody else.
It might have been I don't know, whoever it was. Yes, we will bitch and complain when we feel that there's an injustice, and we shouldn't always cater to the SEC, even though they are the best conference most years, including this year. But that's why it's so good that we saw probably the right teams in here. I mean, yes, BYU has a legitimate gripe. Maybe a few others, but I'm pretty happy with the seeding. And these games are gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. And I was curious, how much did you get to watch this past Saturday?
I was tied up with some family stuff, so not as much as I wanted to, but I caught the late games and I caught the first half of the early ones. So I mean, the funny thing is that the games Friday night, even though they were at home environments, they weren't very competitive. So those games weren't great. And then it started off the same thing Saturday morning, where you had the MAC championship was a blowout. You had Arizona State pulling away from Iowa State pretty early. The Sun Belt game wasn't a good game. Finally, the big ones came through with some great games. And that should just flow right into the college football playoff bracket, where I expect a lot of these games to be fire too.
Yeah, Luke's making fun of your geography here, but maybe not the suburbs of Columbus, but I think he's referring to Cleveland, which I
I
can
mean,
attest to.
well, there's and how far is Columbus and Cleveland? Like
I,
an hour and a
just
half,
not
2
be long.
hours, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, all I know is
Dayton, when we went to Dayton,
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
like I
that
said,
shit
Columbus is doing fine, and I'm sure the surrounding area. But tell me that's not a big shot, a big boost to your economy, whether you're doing fine or not.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, shout out to Mookie. He's going to Vegas for the first round of games. I want to talk more about these, but before I do that, I want to tell you that first off, you are listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Download the SGPN app. It's completely free, and you have easy access to all of our shows and all of our picks pages. It's free wherever you get your app, so do that. And remember, as always, to let it ride. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest menus for all the sports. You can win up to 1,000 times the amount of money you enter with Underdog Streaks. Underdog's always making it easier to win with Profit Boost and Gimme Pick'ems. They got college hoops, college football, NFL, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, everything you could think of, really. You can now use specials and boost on all flex entries as well. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sports book available in 45 different states. There are absolutely plenty of betting opportunities available on Rebet. It's easy to use, and let me tell you, it is great for people in states where traditional sports books may be restricted. Texas, California. Download the Rebet app in the App Store. Use that promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN. All right, we are back. Shout out to Virgil at the Colby D on Twitter if you can, brother. He's going to the Mount Union Salisbury game this Saturday. That is fantastic. Shout out to Mookie, who just ordered a college experience hat too.
I told you Salisbury was going to take care of Randolph Macon.
Yeah, Salisbury, with that, dude, they whooped their ass.
The funny thing is that my FBS picks were not so hot this past weekend. I was fire with everything else. I think the FCS playoffs I was 7-0-1.
There you go. Yeah, Montana came through for you.
That's right.
Yeah,
not on the money line, but they covered.
Well, that's another thing for the local economy. Like Mookie's saying, Notre Dame tickets are so. If you have season tickets to Notre Dame, you get those automatically. You could flip those for you could flip. I mean, what are you making? Like times 10,000%. I feel like.
What do they do with the students? I'm still hoping students can get an affordable.
No, I think students. I mean, at Notre Dame, I did see some Penn State fans bitching though. Yeah. That they cut out a decent percent of the students, but we'll see. I don't know if that was just. We'll see if that's true. But no, you got to give it. I mean, I would just think aren't you trying to get? I mean, you're a university.
Well, yeah, they like money too, though. Have you seen how much they charge for textbooks?
Have you seen how much they charge for tuition? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like these kids are entitled to their goddamn their ticket.
Right. All right. So while we have the bracket up, should we just do our quick bracket, our quick, we're like it's the NCAA tournament or something?
Sure.
No spreads, just really quickly, what are your thoughts on who could?
Well, as someone that has an Oregon future, I'm very angry at the committee. So.
I still don't think they win at all. I find it so hard.
No, I definitely after this bracket, they're gonna have to play. I mean, you could theoretically, based on spread, they'd be playing Ohio State, Texas, and Georgia. Sorry, that's not gonna happen.
That's a gauntlet, man. Now, I will say, I was thinking about this maybe the last couple of weeks or so, and I think it's the first time I mentioned it live. But maybe the reason why there isn't really any great teams this year is that there's not very many great quarterbacks on the best of the teams. So if you're looking at just the quarterback position, I know you're not a Dylan Gabriel fan, but he's probably the quarterback you trust the most out of the whole bracket. So that could take Oregon far.
Yeah, I would say for sure. I do hate him. He plays like a bitch, but he definitely plays that bullshit gimmick ass offense, and he plays it well, and he's done it his whole damn career.
Yeah,
at Oklahoma and UCF. Now, I would say, who would you say is the second best quarterback? Because I believe it to be
Levitt.
No, I think it's Jennings at SMU.
Jennings, Riley Leonard.
Levitt is coming on though. Levitt is coming on, man. He's I mean,
Ewers,
Curtis
Klubnik?
Rourke. Curtis Rourke.
That's I mean, all right. So who was the worst quarterback? I guess
the Georgia
Madsen?
situation. No,
A
Georgia's
Georgia
playing
situation or-
backup because
Yeah.
Beck's out now.
To Patty C's point on your recap show, like what's the drop off there? Like it's kind of hard to say. Like the backup quarterback
There's a
didn't have
reason why he's a backup.
Oh yeah, I mean he didn't have a bad game other than that one interception he threw, which was awful.
See, they did what they had to do to win. I put a lot of that on the O-line.
Yeah,
You still look at his stats, dude.
right.
You look at his stats. Let me pull it up. He was 12 of 16 for 71 yards. So talk about check down God.
Yeah.
Talk about check down God right there. I still think you got to be worried about that. You got to be really worried about it, especially if he plays Notre Dame's defense.
Sure.
Because Notre Dame's defense, I think, really can fuck them up.
All right, so we're not, this is kind of a first reaction. Who's going to win? We're not even looking at lines, and we reserve the right to go back on any of this. But just from the start, well, I guess my brackets I'm looking at a little bit different than yours. But so who do you have winning Clemson, Texas for the right to play Arizona State?
I think that's the most dangerous game for an upset on this whole fucking slate.
That's what I think is Tennessee, Ohio State.
Really? I don't think so. I think that's the one.
so.
That's the one I feel most confident about.
Really?
Yeah,
I feel most confident about Notre Dame, Indiana.
No, to me, like
Really?
if you ask me to rank the upsets, the most likely to me out of the four would be Clemson to beat Texas, right? Just because Texas has not looked good. Clemson is playing with house money. I don't feel like there's any pressure. Klubnik is from Austin, Texas, right?
Is he? I didn't know.
Yeah.
That.
So you're just sitting there saying, and that look, Clemson's beating no good teams. Texas beating no good teams. Clemson's way better than
Well. Clemson
win.
Until last Saturday, Clemson had beaten no good teams either.
Dude, but they should have beat South Carolina. They had them at a 3rd and 16. Like they were up the majority of that game. South Carolina made the plays. Credit to them. I feel like Clemson is way better than anyone Texas has played.
Right? Are you saying it? Clemson beats Texas?
I am. You know what? You know me. Horns down. This bullshit out of here. Matthew
I hope you're right, but I'm going to go Texas at home. I think, at home it's tough. All right, Tennessee, Ohio State.
I think Ohio State easy. That's my number one easiest play.
Really? See, I think Tennessee's going to cover, but again, it's hard to go against Ohio State at home. So I do have Ohio State winning that.
Tennessee, to me, what have they done on the road this year? Their best win is that Vandy win on the road.
And they had the big Arkansas loss on the road.
That's what I'm saying. I would lay 13.5 with Ohio State.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. I'm still not sold that Tennessee.
I think Tennessee has the line play to be able to bang with Ohio
I
State.
will say that they have the D line that can mess with Ohio State's O-line.
And they have the running game, much like Michigan just did when they beat Ohio State. So I think I think Tennessee, Ohio State. I can't wait for that game.
I think Ohio State, it's a psychology thing against Michigan. I don't think Ohio State will be that conservative against Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. SMU, Penn State.
That's a wild card game to me. I mean, Penn State's crowd, but if they're cutting off some of the student section, I think that helps SMU. How cold will it be? You got to take Penn State. That's probably the one I would argue. Like it might be that might be the one you push back and say that's easier than Tennessee, Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean the good thing for SMU is that obviously in the first half against Clemson, they weren't ready for that stage, but it took a while.
Illinois,
Minnesota, a little bit barely.
Illinois
USC,
is their best
barely.
win. Illinois is their best win, and it was a 14-7 game with 4 minutes left in the fourth in Happy Valley.
And we know James Franklin doesn't win big games, and this has to be considered a big game. And also noon kickoff, better than 8 o'clock, better because of the temperature and because of the fans. Yeah. So SMU's got a shot, but if we're just, again, it's kind of hard to take them here. But no, I think SMU finally settled down. And they played a much better second half, and maybe that gives them the confidence to go into the playoff game and not be overwhelmed initially like they were last week.
And then you got So to me, if I had to power rank these, the upset most likely to happen is Clemson, Texas. Second for me is Indiana, Notre Dame.
I'm not buying it.
Third would be SMU, Penn State. Fourth would be Tennessee, Ohio State.
Interesting.
The logic here is this for me. I just don't think Notre Dame's that good. They haven't played that many good teams. I took them to make the playoffs. I cashed my wager. I just thought they played no one. Now, I understand Indiana played no one too. So you got a battle of teams that have played no one. Like Notre Dame's best win was Mike Elko in week 1, where obviously he inherited a brand new team, brand new roster, brand new coordinators. So I don't even know how good A&M really is. You know what I mean? Like when you look back at A&M's schedule, you're just like, are they any good?
Now that is going to be Friday night at in South Bend. I mean, I don't see Notre Dame losing that game. Sorry.
Oh, I could totally see this. I actually think they have the like this is a good matchup. If you're Signetti, this is the one you wanted to me, right?
I'll take it a step further. I think Notre Dame can beat Georgia in New Orleans.
Oh, I do think so. I think so too on that, especially with their backup quarterback. But I think Notre Dame better not count their chickens before they hatch, because I think these Hoosiers. I think with Curtis Rourke, man.
Are they looking ahead? Is this a look ahead spot? I didn't think I'd ever say that in a college football playoff. But
no, I'm just saying, like, I think Indiana they're more capable than I think people realize. I think like you go back and watch the first half of the Ohio State game. If that punt doesn't happen, it was kind of a disaster, snowball effect. I think that game is kind of going to be a defensive struggle. I don't think Notre Dame's going to have great offensive success against that defense.
So who's your winner?
I mean, I'll take the Irish because they're at home.
All right.
But
are we taking the Irish to beat Georgia in New Orleans?
I do think they could win that game. I do think they can.
I'll ride that with you. And then we have, I guess, Penn State, Boise in the Fiesta Bowl. I wanted to bring this up because I do agree with you. I think Arizona State should be third over Boise. Boise State should be fourth. And if that's the case, would Arizona State be playing in the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona?
They would be. Yes.
Do you think this is on purpose?
Didn't.
That is bullshit, and that shows you the bias towards the Big 12 in this for some reason.
Yeah. And another thing is because if Georgia beats Notre Dame, they're playing in Atlanta, right? Isn't the third round?
That's not even on my bracket. I haven't even looked that far. Probably.
I thought the third round was in Atlanta, but I might be full of shit. I haven't looked at it in like 3 months. But
all right, so say we have Penn State, Boise in the Fiesta Bowl.
Dude, I think that's a dangerous game for Penn State.
It is a dangerous game.
Yeah.
I kind of want to take Boise. I'm gonna take Boise. Fuck it, right now. I mean, what do we have to lose?
Yeah, give me Boise. Right?
All right.
I don't want Franklin. I don't want to bet. We're gonna bet on Franklin twice in huge games.
Exactly. Good point. Then we'll have Oregon against Ohio State. Somebody said in the chat earlier, I'm gonna take the Buckeyes here. I think it is.
Yes.
I just think Oregon's good. I mean, Oregon's the best team this year, but by not that wide of a margin. And every close game's bounced their way. It's not going to continue to happen. So I got Buckeyes here.
Oh yeah, I got the Buckeyes too. By the way, I'm sorry. We're getting some clarity from the chat. Obviously, I'm stupid. The national championships in Atlanta. Georgia will be in New Orleans back-to-back weeks.
Is that the case? Okay.
I think so. If Georgia wins, so then you have
Clemson, Arizona State.
Woo!
That's a fun game. It's a fun game because either team could win.
That is a fun game. Dude, I'll be honest. I think Arizona State can play with Texas too.
I'm going to go chalky and have Texas beat Arizona State here, but I don't feel great about it.
Arizona State's momentum, they're the hottest team in this field, right?
Yeah.
Besides Oregon, right?
Yeah.
I guess Oregon undefeated, but I would say Arizona State just looks like they're.
I guess it'd be hard to say Boise isn't red hot either. I mean, the game they lost was to Oregon in week 2, I think, right?
Eye test though matters some. Like Oregon or Boise was flirting, like Arizona State's been fucking hot. They've been really hot. Yeah, give me Give me Sparky. All right. Sparky the Sun Devil there to take care of Clemson.
So then you would have Arizona State at Ohio State. I would have Ohio State versus Texas.
And then I would put Ohio State in the national championship.
I guess so, man. But I mean, the funny thing is, it's not like I'm that high on Ohio State. State could lose.
You said Tennessee. You like Tennessee's chance.
I know. Ohio State could lose to Tennessee in the opening round. Shout out to GBO Farm. GBO, you may have came on late.
He's super pissed.
You may have came on late, GBO, but I said the biggest potential upset in the opening round is Tennessee Ohio State, because that game I think is like a field goal 4-point game, could go either way.
Let me ask you this question, Nick. Why is Texas above Tennessee?
That's a very valid question. Tennessee's loss.
Okay, to a 6-6 team, I guess, but they beat Alabama, who's better than anything Texas has on their resume.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true.
It's kind of puzzling in that regard, you know. I mean, there's a lot of those you could do. Right. I don't understand how Penn State's ahead of Ohio State.
Right,
but.
All right, so we both have the Buckeyes in the championship. Then we have Boise against. Is it Boise against Notre Dame?
It is, which is on the schedule next year too.
Fantastic. That's right.
Yeah.
I guess I would go Notre Dame. See, this is why it's so hard to do this bracket, because if I have Notre Dame, Ohio State national championship game, I don't feel great about those teams. But I guess I don't feel great about anybody, and that's the point. That's why it's been such a fun year.
Honestly, like, the thing I feel best about is I was going to say I felt great about Georgia's chances before the quarterback injury. Like, I felt like Georgia had a great side of the bracket, and then that injury, and you're just like, now it's anyone's fucking game.
It's definitely the bottom half of the bracket is where you want to be. It's wide open. I mean, what teams couldn't run the table? I would say Indiana and SMU.
Yeah, it's probably the two.
Probably not Boise. Could Boise win 2 in a row to get to a national championship? Probably not.
I think they could. If SMU knocks off Penn State and Boise, I would favor Boise against SMU.
And do you really trust Franklin to win that many big games in a row? So to me, it comes down to Notre Dame and Georgia.
I don't know, man. Georgia doesn't have their fucking quarterback.
And I guess also, like, how many big games has Notre Dame won?
None. A&M week 1 when Elko's got a brand new team,
right? Well, somebody's got to come out of the bottom half of the bracket.
I mean, Boise, I don't know. Penn State is probably the best team on paper with Georgia's injury. With Georgia's injury, Penn State's probably the best team on paper.
Why is Penn State's team on paper better than Notre Dame?
I think they're more explosive.
Their best pass catcher is a tight end. I mean, he's awesome.
He's the best tight end I've ever seen.
He's amazing. He's amazing. But
who's Notre Dame's weapon in the receiving core or tight end?
I mean, they have a good tight end too. What's his name? He's no Tyler Warren. He's no Tyler Warren.
Evans. Evans, right? Or Evers?
Yeah, Mitchell Evans. Yeah, Mitchell Evans. I don't know if I consider Penn State explosive this year.
I just think they have a little bit more talent a little more pop than Notre Dame.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But I mean, most explosive in this is probably SMU, actually. In that side of the bracket, like they could put up the most yards week in, week out. I think it's probably SMU. But can they win any of these games? You know?
Yeah.
I think you can make a case. I mean, that's what's crazy is Tennessee, Ohio State, and Oregon have the biggest, like, that particular part of the bracket is fucking brutal.
It really is. Yeah. Nobody should be happy there. I mean, GBO Farmers shouldn't be happy getting the 9 seed and having to play potentially Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas.
Even if they played, let's say Texas got upset, then you're either playing Clemson, and Dabo's got a ton of playoff experience as a coach, or an Arizona State team that's looked phenomenal for like the past 2 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what did Penn State do to deserve this? Their potential path could be like SMU, Boise, Notre Dame to the national championship. You know, like, that's a nice path.
It is.
Anyway, that's
let me
fun
ask you this:
exercise.
can Notre Dame win the national championship this year?
Sure.
I don't think I've ever said that in my life.
This
But
year,
I think you're right. I think you're right. I
yeah.
think they could.
And to Rob Donaldson's point in the chat, I mean, this bracket is defined by defense and running games. It's not about quarterback play. So Notre Dame's got a shot.
Who's the quarterback you trust least?
The quarterback I trust least. Shit. Is it Howard?
I would say it's Ewers, Howard, Ocho Cinco.
Oh yeah, yeah, that might be the one.
Maddox, Madsen at Boise, maybe.
Nico Ocho might be, but I mean, he looked pretty good the last game there.
He did look good. I was impressed in the Vandy game.
Yeah,
there were some games earlier in the years where I was just like, "Woo, he's not ready."
But
right?
I guess you have to say Maddox Madsen.
Yeah, and he has a bye.
Right.
Unbelievable.
And they're playing a very winnable game.
So look, the chat though is giving. Some are saying Ewers is a turnover machine, dude.
Yeah.
Drew Aller. Some
That's
are
fair.
saying, yeah.
That's why it's so fun, because a lot of these quarterbacks can't be trusted because they're not great. Hold on. What about Georgia's quarterback?
Oh yeah, that's true. With no Carson Beck, what's my guy's name? Gunnar Stockton. That's probably that's probably
great name, but he has like 20 pass attempts in his career or something.
Virgil's asking the best QB. That's what we were saying, Dylan Gabriel. But I think
it has to be Gabriel.
I would say he's been in college like a decade. So, but I would say Jennings would probably be the one to me that would push for number 2 at SMU.
Well, he's a wild card. I mean, he's had a hell of a year, and he's exciting to watch. He didn't have a good first half against Clemson. Had a good second half.
He could really take over the fucking country here if he goes on a run, like on being on that side of the bracket. All you got to do is get through that Penn State game, and then like who knows with Boise, SMU.
Shit, I mean that's a toss-up, man. I mean,
and then imagine SMU's playing Notre Dame.
Why who's favored? Who? What's the line in SMU Boise?
I would assume Boise minus
hypothetical game
2.5,
something like that. But it's a coin flip game for sure.
I wanted to ask, best running back. Everyone thinks Ashton Jeanty, but it's John Riggins 2.0 and Scattaboo. All right. We have 2 John Riggins playing. We have Tyler Warren for Penn State, who sometimes takes carries, and Cam Scattaboo for Arizona State.
Maybe GBO Farms was asking that question because I won a nice bet, a nice future on the most rushing yards in the SEC this year. And that was cashed by Dylan Sampson for Tennessee, who's also a very fine. He is
very underrated, man.
Often overlooked.
Actually, overlooked. Yeah, he's underrated. So my national champion is what? Ohio State taking on my championship game is Ohio State taking on
Notre Dame.
I can't do that. Give me Ohio State. Boise, I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't feel good about that whole other side of the bracket. I have no fucking idea. Part of me is like, don't fade Kirby Smart. He'll find a way to beat. Yeah, it's another thing. It's like Kirby Smart. It's not like he's going up against great competition here. Like, what if he's playing Cignetti in Indiana? Like, should I really be fading him because he's on a backup quarterback against Indiana?
Luke has a good question. Who is the best defense out of all these teams?
I think it's Ohio State. Tennessee's up there, though. That's what's hilarious. One of the best defenses, one of the top 2 defenses lose in game 1.
I mean, Georgia, they haven't had a great defense this year.
I don't think Georgia's defense is as good as it traditionally is.
Notre Dame's defense has been great, but who have they played?
And they've got some injuries. So
Oregon's defense has not been great against the top 3. The top 3 they've played, they put up points.
But it's statistically a good defense. But yes.
Yeah, well, that's because they play in the Big Ten now with all the shitty offenses. That's a tough question.
Who's the worst defense? SMU?
Probably Boise.
Boise or
Boise or
SMU?
Indiana,
Boise
maybe?
held Oregon to what? I mean, if you those two special teams touchdowns, you take that off the board. Boise went into Eugene and held them to like, what was it, like 14 points? I think it was.
That's kind of before Oregon was clicking, though. That's a good question too. I mean, this and look,
My
that's
first
why
thought would be SMU is the worst defense.
if there was ever a year for a larger playoff, thank God it's this year because this is gonna be fantastic. Because like we're saying, like we don't even. I mean, it's gonna be. Who knows what's gonna happen here?
Yeah. I mean, Penn State, if you're a Penn State fan, you got to be thinking this is our year.
Hell yeah, why not? If you're a fan of any of these teams, you got to be thinking, hell yeah, this is our year.
But Penn State specifically,
Yeah, because the route is there,
and Georgia's injury.
Yeah,
Georgia's injury, you're thinking this is our year to fucking do this. That's why the 12-team bracket is flawed though. The 6th seed has the best route. 5 seeds got the second best route.
Move to 16 immediately. Come on.
Yes.
Next year.
Folks, we're gonna get to some coaching stuff, but want to tell you the college football experience is brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie's been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website. It's great on mobile. Plus, there's props for every game. The live dealer casino is a bundle of fun. There's new cash out options too for early cash outs. Head over to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Plus, they're going to give you a little $10 casino chip to get your beak wet there. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, props. You can copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or you can have Rhythm build you your own model. You can now track the props in the Rhythm app, which is fantastic. They just introduced college basketball on November 2nd, right before the season. They got college hoops. They got college football. They got NFL, NBA. They got everything over at Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right. Here's a good question before we get out of here. GBO Farm saying, will all these teams have the same head coach next year? Ryan Day is the big one there.
Throw Franklin into the mix too. If they get upset by SMU,
that is 100%. If Marcus Freeman, they're talking about to the Bears potentially. I
guess there's two ways.
The only ones, right?
There's two ways a coach can leave. Either they're fired or they're promoted to a better job. So I think if you're Penn State or Ohio State, if they lose in the first round, those coaches should be concerned. And then do any coaches get promoted, like maybe Freeman, or it's probably the only one, though, right?
I don't think so. SMU has enough money to keep him.
And also a lot of the coaching vacancies are being filled, So
that's something I would like to talk about right now is like as of right now, we have 6 open jobs. North Carolina, West Virginia, those two should be circled. The only 2 Power 5 gigs out there still. Mid-majors, UNLV, who just almost played for the playoffs. New Mexico, Sam Houston State, and Ohio, all out there. What the hell are West Virginia and North Carolina doing? You realize the portal opened today. Are you trying to win this year?
I still think, though, I don't think you want to make a rash, quick hire just because of that. I think you have to make the right hire, even if it means taking a couple extra weeks, because, that's, and in the big scheme of things, year over year, the couple weeks can be made up. But I still think it might, behoove them to make a decision here pretty quickly.
But NC Nick, I would like to also note that Sam Leavitt came from Michigan State. Dylan Gabriel came from Oklahoma. Will Howard came from Kansas State. Riley Leonard came from Duke. Curtis Rourke came from Ohio. All those guys are starting in the playoffs right now.
Did you mention Ewers? You did, right?
No, but he was on Texas last year. I'm saying this is
he was
all
a transfer.
Last year, he was a transfer from Ohio State. He stole their money. That'd be a hilarious rematch too. But I'm saying as of last year, they went out Arizona State. That's 1. Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Notre Dame 4, Indiana 5. 5 of the 12 are starting quarterbacks that are transfers from last year. Now there's and then if you throw Ewers in there, that would be what, 6 of the 12 would be half of the field would be transfer quarterbacks. But
Yeah.
the reason why I say that is I do think you have to be active right away. And that's why I think they're kind of bullshitting right now. Like, hire your guy.
You have to be, in order to succeed year one, you will probably want to make that move quickly. But if you're thinking long term, I think it's more important to get the right coach.
Sure. But to me, like, this Rich Rod speculation has been happening for 2 weeks. All right. If you're going to hire him, fucking hire him.
And we just saw today, I think Anthony Becht was being interviewed. So,
that's a bad hire. Do not hire that.
Yeah,
I was not impressed with his coaching in the XFL, despite, what their record.
So what's the holdup with Rich Rod? Is it the history?
Kodal Nicky's out there, Penn State OC. And I think the history.
So part of whoever's in charge there, I don't know if it's boosters or administration, but part of them still don't like how he left, and they never want Rich Rod back. Yeah. Which seems to me like, come on, man, he took a better job. He took Michigan. Okay, it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
like what? How are you gonna?
He's also an alum there.
Yeah,
he paid his dues.
Look,
he's at Jacksonville State.
Elko left Duke last year. Was I upset about Elko? No. I mean, dude.
But I think it's different if Elko was from Duke.
Okay, but still. I mean, come on. Let's get over it. It's been a long time. Get over it.
Well, they're fucking up next year, which I know they have some money to spend too. They're actually putting together a decent NIL collective over there. And they're fucking up next year. And then you have North Carolina, who wanted Summerall, but Tulane just matched his offer, and they're staying in New Orleans. At Tulane, and now the only other one I see on the board is Belichick. I mean, maybe they call Jamie Chadwell, maybe they call Bill Belichick and Steve Belichick. I have been rooting for this.
I same here. As a UNC hater, I've been rooting for it.
Fuck a Prime and Shador Sanders, right? Give us the Belichicks, all right?
Dude, it would automatically make like every UNC game must watch, kind of like how Prime did with Colorado.
Yes, they should do this.
And personally, I don't think it'll end well hiring an NFL guy who is of that age. So I'm all for UNC making the hire. I really hope it happens. Fingers crossed.
But wait, Steve Belichick was actually kind of impressive this year to me. Like, Washington's defense was ahead of schedule to me. I know it wasn't like game changing, but I'm just saying I almost ate shit on my under, which I thought was a smash lock, right? I think that might not be the craziest hire if you pass it over to Steve. Who knows how Bill will be? Bill, here's the thing what's crazy. Bill has never really been in college, but his dad was a Navy coach.
In what, the 60s?
Yeah. I think it was the early 70s, 60s, something like that.
I mean, look, I don't want to throw shade at Bill Belichick. Obviously one of the best coaches ever, but there's a couple things here. I mentioned he's an NFL guy. I mentioned his age. You could also throw out his record without Tom Brady at quarterback. And you could throw out how questionable he's been as like a GM, as like the manager of talent. And as a college football head coach, that's your gig too. There is no
I
GM.
should also mention, though, that Bill Belichick was named after college football Hall of Fame coach Bill Edwards, who was his godfather. So, I mean, there's a lot of
I hope it happens.
Coaching.
I hope it happens. I really do.
I do too. I mean, for content's sake, I want it to happen, but they got to get their shit together. Coaching front, we did have someone today. This week. I should key in on here, or let's just talk about all of these ones. Scott Frost goes to UCF. The shoe fits to me. He's had success there. It can't be, to me, he's better than Malzahn.
Are UCF fans pissed off that how he left? I mean, granted, again, he's almost like Elko, where no, he wasn't from UCF, but they got over that. They understood at the time he left for a bigger, more well-paying job. But that sounds like a perfect hire. I mean, he did wonders there. He's coming back home. Yeah, good hire.
I think that could actually be a good hire. He's away from the game. He was in so many close games that he lost at Nebraska. I know that part of me is like, well, they were always they were always undisciplined. They would get penalized, worse special teams. But I'm like, and that normally is coaching. But then I'm like, well, what he did UCF when he took it over was 0-12, and then he was 12-0 in 2 years. 6-6 in year one, took him bowling. So I'm like, I can't, and he has coached under legends, like played and coached under legends, whether it's Tom Osborne.
And let's face it,
Bill
maybe
Walsh
Nebraska.
What's that?
Sorry to cut you off.
No.
Let's face it. I mean, maybe Nebraska is a hard place to win at right now, given the league they're in, given the lack of local talent.
Maybe it could be a Texas situation too, since it's the only show in town. Where like the boosters. I don't know. Maybe. But I like the hire. I'm going to say that's a good hire right now on face value here. Want to ask you about, this is to me the shocker of this whole one. Barry Odom goes to Purdue. What?
Dude, the job he did at UNLV, I thought he'd be in the running for better jobs than Purdue.
That's what I'm saying. Well, first off, there's two sides of this. First off, UNLV is staying in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Right? So next year, they're going to be favored against everybody. They're going to be favored to be in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah.
Right? So if he stays there, they make the playoffs next year, I think he can get a major gig, because I also expect Brian, talk about the hot seat next year. I think you can make a case for Mario Cristobal. You can make a case for Miami, Florida State, Florida, all opening up. You can make a case for LSU opening up. You can make a case for Auburn opening up. You can make a case for Ohio State opening up. You can make a case for, just a slew, Penn State opening up, USC opening up. And I thought this is ridiculous for Barry Odom to take this job. Dude, and then, what's that?
He turned UNLV around on a dime. UNLV's never been relevant in college football.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, the job he did there has been fantastic. I mean, he's a young guy, south of 50. He's in his prime. I was shocked he went to Purdue, because I thought he'd be in line for a better gig.
Well, and then the other side of this for me. So Barry Odom, the last time he was a head coach at a Power 5 was at Missouri. You know who his defensive coordinator was?
Who was it back then?
It was Ryan Walters. So you're getting
the same tree.
Yeah, and then right? And then I'm like, wait, Purdue, we've talked about this. Go through do a deep dive on Purdue football for our lifetime, 40 years. The two coaches that have actually won there were offensive coaches, and Joe Tiller and Jeff Brom. They're the only two coaches that won there. Why are you going for a defensive guy
and
again?
Brom didn't win much until very late in his tenure there.
Yeah, but he walked into a fucking disaster, though. They were horrible. But I don't understand why they're going defense again. That was the most puzzling one to me. I don't understand why Odom's taking it. I don't understand why Purdue wants him. But on both sides, I'm all confused. Like,
just to answer Luke in the chat here, talking about Tulane, about the, how they return a lot. I think I did see Darian Mensah's in the portal.
Yeah, Mensah's in the portal, and I don't know that. I think Memphis will still be good. Army will still be the champs.
UTSA is going to be better next year.
ECU will be the best team in the nation. So I think the conference will be a little trickier. So I would favor Boise again personally, but right after that would be probably UNLV.
What is UNLV going to do at quarterback? Because Haj Malik Williams is I'm sorry, he's finally out of college football. He's been around for a long time, and Saluka's not coming back. So
now that they lost Odom, I would not put him at number 2.
No. Yeah.
I would put like Washington State at number 2, especially now that they're in a conference and they wouldn't have to get the outright like Notre Dame, right? But who knows if Washington State keeps Mateer? I kind of feel like Mateer is going to be gone.
Probably.
But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to forecast that without knowing the transfer portal.
All right, so should we rattle off these coaching hires? And
yeah, hang on. Charles Huff to Southern Miss, unbelievable hire by them. What the hell is Marshall doing? Who the fuck is Marshall to be doing this stuff to Doc Holliday and Charles Huff?
That's a good question. Now, I do think they made a pretty good hire, though.
I think he's a good coach too, but I just don't understand. You just won the championship. Isn't that what you want?
Yeah. I don't understand. Well, and then also, why would Tony Gibson? So Tony Gibson, who they hired, NC State defensive coordinator, who I thought he was ready for a for a head coaching job, his first ever. He's never been head coach before. I thought he's been ready for a while. So, but wouldn't there be some hesitation to have taken that job after you
because
saw
of
what he did to the last
Holiday
two
and
coaches?
Huff? Yeah,
Right.
I don't understand it.
But I guess maybe nobody else was knocking at his door to become head coach, so maybe that was his shot. He was a great DC. I think he could do well there, but I mean, if they have unreal expectations, then maybe
Which
he's
they
gone 3 or
do.
4
I mean,
years
Charles
too.
Huff won at Notre Dame 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the biggest win in the they don't even.
And
have
then they just won the Sun Belt Championship. So I mean, what more do you want, Marshall?
Shocking to me. GBO Farm saying, why go to Marshall over Charlotte? Did he do that? I don't know, but Tim Albin is now the head coach of Charlotte. He leaves your Ohio Bobcats. I saw the chat talking about this before. Great hire for Ohio. I mean, for Charlotte, but shout out to Ohio, first off, getting their first MAC championship since the 60s. But what do you make of this? You think this is one of the best ones out there? Like this is
I was saying his name for P4
the
jobs,
West Virginia job, the Purdue job. You said Purdue should get him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it is a great hire. And at first, I was kind of puzzled. I was like, is Charlotte really a better job than Ohio? And then the more I thought about it, I was like, yes, it is, because Charlotte has a very high ceiling. There's no reason why Charlotte can't be Memphis or Tulane or UTSA. There's no reason why Charlotte can't be on top of the American, just given their location. As long as the administration and the school wants to pump resources into the football team, Charlotte is kind of a sleeping giant. Charlotte has much higher upside than Ohio does, unfortunately. And that's why I think he took the job, because I think he saw what it could be. Let's see if he's the right guy for the job. I think he is a very good coach.
Yeah. Matt Entz, North Dakota State's former head coach who left for USC this past year, is now the head coach at Fresno.
I think it's a good hire.
I can't say. I mean, my one thing is like North Dakota State went down a tiny bit of a tier with him. Tiny bit of a tier. But I still think he's probably a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't say he did a great job as coordinator, or because it's not like the USC defense was great. But he proved that he could at least run a top-notch program as a head coach. So I think it's a pretty good hire.
Yeah. Willie Simmons to FIU. I'm a big fan of this. I actually called this one.
That made a ton of sense, man. I hate to see him leave Duke.
He was great at Florida A&M, and obviously Duke had a great year. Makes a lot of sense. I like that one.
Also, isn't that more like kind of the whole pit bull thing? Now they got I mean, it's a better fit, I think. They got a vibe going now.
Of course, according to Evan the reporter, WVU hires Oregon's offensive coordinator Will Stein.
Thanks, Evan.
Yeah, he's all over the place. Appreciate you, though, Evan.
It's changed. It changed in the last hour. I mean, things move quickly.
This one, you have Dow Loggins to App State.
I don't know how to pronounce the name, and I don't know much about the guy. I'll say that
NFL guy.
Yeah. At least the last 4 years he's been in college, and I'll say that I think he did a really good job at South Carolina this year.
Yeah,
and that's about as much as I can say.
Out of the fucking blue to me a little bit, but hey, maybe they know something I don't know. Then we have Casey Keeler to Temple. I think is one of the best hires of this whole goddamn cycle. Let's go Temple Owls, coming over from Sam Houston State.
I still don't understand that move either.
Well, he's from there.
I don't care.
It's the same as Bronco Mendenhall to Utah State. He's from there.
From New Mexico, though.
Okay.
He's in Texas, a hotbed of football.
The AAC, you're telling me you look back at Temple in the past 15 years, they've been to a lot of bowl games. It was just they've sucked the past 3 years. Matt Rule had them like top 15. And the AAC, I think Casey Keeler can get Temple to the playoffs.
He's coming off like like an 8-4 season, 8-4. I mean, I thought he was building there. I mean, he's the one that shepherded them from the FCS.
Yeah, he won the FCS national championship. He said he's done his job. Let me go home. All right.
I don't know.
And he does. And I think
Maybe that's just my hatred of Northeastern football. You know, I think he should stay in Texas.
more money is more money, buddy. And especially when he's home, he's from the area. So I think that's the best thing Temple could have done.
It's a good hire. Yeah, it is.
Scott Abel to Rice. I love it. The triple option coming to Rice. You know, I'm very excited about this. And NC Nick, while I'm talking about this, he comes over from Davidson. Matt Drinkle from Army to Central Michigan. We're starting to see it, buddy. We are starting to see it.
If anything, it'll be fun.
Coming back. Yes.
Maybe they're learning that, like, look, if you're just kind of stuck in the mud and the best you can do is 6-6, why not try?
They have
else?
to be learning. Army and Navy were top 25 all year. Air Force had a shitty year this year, but the past 3 years or something won like 40 games, right?
There you go.
It's right there for you. Stop being stupid. Thank you, Central Michigan. Thank you, Rice.
Triple option in the MAC, especially with
they're
the
gonna fuck those teams
kind
up,
of
dude.
weather they get.
They are gonna fuck those teams up, dude. And the way that those run defenses are, I feel like all those run defenses are trash. Right?
Well, not Ohio, not Miami of Ohio, but there are a lot of trash rush defenses. So yeah, I like it.
You're automatically gonna be a bowl team. Automatically be a bowl team with running the triple there. One of my favorite hires was not Blake Harrell to East Carolina, but Mike Yermokovich from Butler to Ball State. Speaking of the MAC.
Okay. All right.
I like that hire. I thought he did a good job with the Butler Bulldogs there. And what do you make of Mendenhall leaving for Utah State? He's from like right where the university is from. Like he's literally
So have you heard anything more? I mean, was it just coming home, or was there some kind of beef with the administration there? I mean, have you heard anything more on that? Because I heard rumors, but.
So thank you, World. I was the one to break the news there. I'm still not credited as the guy that broke that news. But if I can read exactly the words from a inside source there, this was my source officially. He goes, this is not official yet. This is like almost 24 hours before, I feel like, or 20 hours before. But I want to let you know, Bronco Mendenhall's the next head coach at Utah State. He's out of here in Albuquerque. And I go, really? No way. And he goes, yeah. He goes, a lot of internal shit here that pissed him off. So
what? And I know we were texting about this. So why are the New Mexico schools pissing off good head football coaches? And is that why they've mostly sucked for the last 50 years?
I mean, probably. Both these New Mexico schools. I don't know. Like how you went 5-7 in year one. And your win total was like 1.5.
I cashed that over big time.
Yeah. This is a slam dunk for Utah State.
Great hire. It's a great hire. And you know what? I really enjoy Utah State being like a really good football program. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, when you build out like the new Pac-12, you're like, wait, we have Washington State, Oregon State, Boise State, Utah State with Mendenhall, Fresno State, who just has been good. Colorado State's coming off their best season in a while. And then Sean Lewis probably going to get it going at San Diego State. You're like, it's a pretty good conference.
Yeah.
So
now, when you were struggling with the pronunciation a couple coaches ago, I thought you were about to mention the UMass hire.
Oh, yeah. Joe. How do I pronounce this?
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Harazmiak from Rutgers.
Harazmiak?
Yeah, Harazmiak. Harazmiak, I think is probably correct.
I think it's a good hire, though.
I do think it's a good hire. Like, I mean, I don't understand. I thought you should have kept Don Brown one more year personally, because I thought he would have done really good in the MAC. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty solid hire. Trey Lamb goes to Tulsa. This is a guy that was at Gardner Webb. Then he went for 1 year at East Tennessee State. Now he goes to Tulsa. I think that's a good hire.
There's one firing I want to talk about too, and then that is your boy Eric Bieniemy. Now, I don't know Eric Bieniemy. I got nothing against him, but I just thought it was weird how like the media was trying to prop him up in order to get a head coaching job in the NFL, and he kept on failing to get that gig. And my only takeaway from that is that he probably was an awful interview. And that's probably why he wasn't getting hired. Now, there's a whole track record of maybe not hiring as many African Americans as they should be. But I just thought it was like a weird media phenomenon that they were building up him specifically.
Well, I felt it as a former, he's a former Colorado running back. So I was like, how the fuck's he not a head coach? Fucking Lindy Infante was Schottenheimer's OC, and he got multiple runs at his head coach, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess I see it both ways, because there's a spotty record with the NFL with hiring minorities, but at the same time, like maybe
but don't worry, they ended racism in the end zones.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe Andy Reid had more to do with that offense than Bieniemy, because we saw him with the Commanders and he wasn't very good, or the Redskins, and then
dude, if you're a small school, why would you not just make Bieniemy your head coach and just roll the dice?
Well, why would you? Maybe. I mean, what has he proven?
He's got NFL pedigree. Patrick Mahomes will come to your fucking camp.
Okay, all right. Again,
he's won Super Bowls as an offensive coordinator.
I was never rooting against the guy, but apparently his career is heading in the wrong direction.
Well, I thought it was foolish to take that, knowing UCLA's schedule. I thought it was foolish.
It's not like UCLA was
I don't think he did a horrible job. I don't think he did a horrible job.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But they were gonna for whatever reason, Deshaun Foster wants to go in another route. Maybe the offense, maybe he passed.
I think personality, he might rub people the wrong way. I think that might be more of the issue, and maybe that was why he wasn't hired.
He was the babysitter for Ryan Walters as a kid.
I did not know that.
So both got canned, man. They should form a staff somewhere out there. Sam Houston, pick up the phone.
There you go,
folks. That's our show. What's your favorite hire of the offseason?
My favorite hire, dude. There's a lot of them. I think
Jerry
Albin's
Mack at Kennesaw State.
I think Willie Simmons was a great hire. Scott Frost is a great hire. I mean, the funny thing is that where I can say now, not where I live, but where we live now, there was so many open jobs in North Carolina. ECU was open, Charlotte was open, App State was open, UNC is still open. It's been a pretty crazy, last 3 weeks or so. But my favorite overall.
Did you know also that Tulsa's head coach Trey Lamb is related to the old App head coach, or the old App
quarterback Jeff Lamb? Yeah,
no, not Jeff Lamb, Taylor Lamb, right?
The old quarterback. Oh, it was Jeff Lamb.
I think you're thinking of Jeff Lamp, who played for the Lakers.
I have to take a deep dive on this.
Back in the 80s.
I've had a couple bourbons now. I'm not sure, but I don't know, man. There's been a bunch of fun hires and some questionable hires at the same time.
All right, folks, that's our show. We'll cover it. We have a lot of months to talk. I'm just fascinated by what West Virginia and North Carolina and some of those mid-majors. I think the UNLV one is very intriguing. Folks,
mention tomorrow night is when we're going to do picks for FCS playoffs,
FCS D2, D3. We got a bowl game Saturday too. Don't forget about that South Alabama game.
And we'll probably cover the other bowl game on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
What bowl game is that? I forget who it is. Is that West Virginia?
Memphis and West Virginia, I believe.
Yes.
The Frisco Bowl, right?
That's right, because everybody cares about that.
Yeah. We got the Sports Gambling Podcast college football show coming up in a little bit here in 2 hours. So check that out. We'll talk on FCS as well there. College basketball experience later tonight. Till next time, folks, this is the college football experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the gamblers. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know